people were like, you're ruining the sport of highlight. And I was like, there's not much left to ruin. I'm trying to save the sport of highlight.
All righty. Welcome back. It's another edition of the Business of Betting podcast. I am your host, Jeff Edelstein, senior analyst over at InGame. It's a Friday, so I decided to wear my hat. That's when we're taping this on a Friday, so I decided to wear a hat. Casual Friday. I'm bringing Casual Friday into my casual life. I'm joined today by Scott Savin. He is the commissioner of the World Highlight League. Scott, thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure. Great to be here.
So, listen, highlight is, I'm old enough to remember highlight being a thing. Like in my, I don't really remember watching it, but I remember hearing about it. I remember it. Highlight's kind of been out of the news, the world for a time. You're bringing it back. And so tell me exactly what you're trying to build here. And I think the answer might be all three. Are you trying to revive the sport? Are you trying to build a betting product? Are you trying to build a media property? What are we doing?
Well, you're right. All three. It was a big thing back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, especially along the Eastern Seaboard. 10,000 people a night routinely at the Frontons in Miami and Fort Lauderdale in the wintertime. And then they swung up to primarily Connecticut in the summer and did the same thing, 8, 9, 10,000 people a night. And it went into a very steep decline. Some would say a death spiral. And we're trying to revive it, primarily by changing the way the game is played and putting it on platforms for sports wagering. It really was a pari-mutuel sport for all the years it existed. This will be the 100th year of play in Miami. It's the centennial anniversary. But for 92 years, it was played as a pari-mutuel sport. And now we've changed it where it's played like any sport you would bet on your FanDuel, DraftKings, any of those accounts, like betting football, baseball, hockey, soccer. That's the play, and we're working hard at it.
Is your league it's available on DraftKings, FanDuel, and the top sites?
We're on most of the platforms, including FanDuel and DraftKings, and we're based down here in Florida. The only game in town here is Hard Rock, and we are available on the Hard Rock app. So yeah, we're there. People just have to find us.
So, what's kind of fascinating, and, correct me if I'm wrong, but like you said, the highlight, was in a death spiral. One of the reasons, if I'm not mistaken, was because of, the fix being in on a lot of these matches. Like there was a lot of scandal, right?
There were a lot of scandals. Some were sort of urban legends and some were true. There was actually a group of bettors in Connecticut who figured out how to beat the game, really, the pari-mutuel style game. So it wasn't really that it was being fixed by the players, which I think is the misnomer. It's that a group of guys got together. They happened to be actuaries, very smart. And they figured out that the way highlight was played, you were using post positions 1 through 8. And, only 2 players or teams could play at a time. So post 1 would play post 2 and the winner would stay on and the loser would go off. And they came up with an algorithm to really beat the game. So you had that going on in Connecticut in the 80s. And then you had a couple, or for sure one, mafia-related hit of a highlight executive. So it was very exciting to be, I guess, involved in highlight in the 70s and 80s.
Has there been a movie made about this? Because it sounds like this is, give me some Martin Scorsese and maybe like a Bradley Cooper or somebody. There's something there.
There's been a couple of books written about it, and I'm sure, actually, I've been contacted a few times. There's some scripts floating around out there, and, I get the occasional, would I like to finance this? And, of course, the answer is no.
Yeah, it's got everything, though. It's got Florida, Miami, the 70s. I'm sure we could get some cocaine involved in this. It would be a hell of a production. But going back to my point, though, what's fascinating is that, there was that how gambling today now might be like the way to bring highlight back.
Absolutely. Well, for sure. It's the only way to bring it back. And look, gambling has exploded. It's all that the streamers want is they want live sports. That's all people are watching nowadays. So, we had to position the sport mainstream wagering where the average sports fan could very quickly catch on to the wagering angle of highlight. And that's what we're working on. It seems to be working.
Have you changed the way the game is played, like the rules around it, or?
Yeah, we've made a couple of changes. The core game is the same. The court hasn't changed and the in-game rules haven't changed, but we've styled it more like tennis or ping pong. So instead of the 8 players in sort of this king of the court or round robin style, you're playing matches just like tennis or ping pong, singles and doubles. The one thing that sort of amazed me about the marketing, and I'll use, air quotes, geniuses of Highlight is we bill ourselves as the fastest ball sport in the world, and they only allowed one serve as opposed to tennis where you get two serves. So the very first thing we did is go, no, two serves. And then we told all the players, please throw the first serve as hard as you possibly can. This is the fastest ball sport in the world. So we changed it to two serves, and the team concept and matches being singles or doubles. And other than that, the rules of the game remain the same.
Where are we finding the players necessarily? I mean, has there been, like, despite the fact that Highlight had lost a lot of its popularity, were there still people like who were applying their trade at it?
Well, the interesting thing is that there's still a lot of players in Spain and France. The Basque area of Spain and the adjacent area of France, there's probably 1,000 players over there, varying ages and leagues and tournaments. The Basque players were the best in the world when we started this about 4 years ago, and they actually refused in the very beginning to participate in our league because the initial players we got, we recruited from the University of Miami. We had a relationship with the U down here, and we recruited not Highlight players, but just ex-athletes, guys who played football, baseball, basketball. One ran track, one was a lacrosse player, and we taught them how to play Highlight. So when they started off, they were the bad news bears of Highlight. They pretty much stunk, but we anointed them professional Highlight players, but they very quickly got good at the game. And then we were able to attract the Basque players. And so now our locker room, 40 players, we've got 5 French players, about 12 players from the Basque country, a couple players from Mexico, a player from the Philippines, and the balance are from the United States.
For the uninitiated, why don't you explain the game a little bit?
Well, it's sort of, they call it a rally sport. It's sort of a combination of squash or racquetball or tennis. I guess the biggest difference is instead of having a net to hit it over and someone to return it, you throw the ball against a front wall, which is made out of granite. And then the opposing team has to catch the ball coming off of that wall and throw it back. So you're basically alternating. It doesn't matter which player catches it in doubles. It can be either player, but you're alternating throwing and catching from one team to the other, and you're throwing it against this wall. And you can also, it's a 3-sided court. So the one side is open for viewing. The front, the back, and the side wall you can use, and the ball can go off multiple walls. It can't hit the roof. It can't go out of bounds, and you can't bounce twice. So very similar to tennis.
And how long, are the rallies about as long as like a tennis match? Like some short, some longer, or
sometimes they're very short. You get a great server out there and, he can ace people. One of the things that we're dealing with right now is the points are actually taking too long because the players have gotten so good that they can essentially just keep it in play for 2 or 3 minutes, which doesn't sound like a lot of time, but watching a 3-minute tennis point would quite honestly get boring. So we're working on speeding up the game even more than we already have and finding actually a faster ball right now.
How is the partnership with the gambling companies going? Are you finding that you're getting some traction, getting some new bettors to the sport, or is it kind of building things out like side by side?
It's varied from platform to platform. We're fortunate. DraftKings actually has a trader who's assigned strictly to Highlight. So he sets the odds on all the matches. He's a former player, not a professional player, but a former player and a former announcer, and he knows the sport extremely well. So DraftKings, we're very active with them. We speak to them pretty much almost on a daily or weekly basis, and they seem to be doing extremely well with the sport. We don't get, specific reports, but they seem to be doing very, very well, as opposed to FanDuel that doesn't have a trader specifically assigned to it. And then we're doing great with Hard Rock in Florida. We have a partnership with them, and we get to see how many bets were placed and the average amount wagered. And just in the last, I think 3 months, there were over 100,000 bets placed on Highlight. So we're very encouraged by the growth on the betting side.
And let's get into your background and what brought you to Highlight here.
Okay, so Highlight initially, they built a fronton in Hartford, Connecticut. I grew up in West Hartford, Connecticut, and there wasn't much to do in Hartford, Connecticut. So when they opened this fronton in 1976, or I'm aging myself, you had to be 18 to get in, and I was 16. But, it takes a bad fake ID and the fact that they wanted as many people in there as possible. And me and a bunch of buddies used to go all the time because we could bet and drink beer at 16 years old. Bad IDs that said we were from Indiana, and, weighed a lot more or less than we actually did, and we're much taller or shorter than we actually were. So that was the initial introduction. But I've been a Highlight fan, on and off through the years. And my career really was through pari-mutuels. I was president of a horse track, Gulfstream Park down here in Florida, a dog track, Flagler dog track, and then kind of rounded out the trifecta, if you will, with Jai Alai. So I don't know if it's an accomplishment, a black mark or a good mark, but I've had the fun and experience of running all three of the pari-mutuels that are available to bet on.
When you decided to do this 4 years ago, I mean, I didn't want to say it was a lifelong dream fulfilled, but it's not an accident that you ended up, you were a fan as a kid, you like drinking beers as a kid, and you had the background, the pari-mutuel, but you immediately got rid of the pari-mutuel setup here.
It was very purposeful to do Jai Alai. We actually, in Florida, in order to have the non-tribal casinos, you had to have a pari-mutuel activity adjacent to the casino. So you had to either be dog racing, horse racing, or Jai Alai. We initially, the casino that I operated was a dog track, and we wanted to phase out dog racing. So our only option, if we were to phase out dog racing, was to go to horse racing, which made no sense, or to Jai Alai. So we applied to the state of Florida to change our license from a dog racing license to a Jai Alai license. And we made that change first. And then we were playing pari-mutuel Jai Alai. And then we decided, let's also expand into the sports wagering field because we saw it was starting to really blow up. And now we play primarily 85% for sports wagering. We do play some pari-mutuel performances, very minimal amount each year.
Speaking about your fake ID, my fake ID when I was in high school, a buddy of mine, it was a Pennsylvania ID. My name was John Mill. We were all John Mill because he created a basically 6 foot by 4 foot Pennsylvania driver's license mock-up, right? And he'd stand in front of it and he'd take your picture and then laminate it. Was your fake ID more better thought out or worse thought out?
Well, it was an Indiana ID, and some guy in downtown Hartford, I guess that was his business of making fake IDs. So a bunch of us went there, and we were all from Indiana and varying, I said, heights and weights and different names, and it worked.
My ID worked at one place. I'm not even going to name the name of the place, but it was a liquor store outside of my town. The ID was so terrible. You knew they knew, but like nobody would like say anything about it. Then when I finally turned 21, I wasn't going to drive 15 minutes out of the way anymore. So I said, hey, I'm not going to be coming in anymore. I'm moving to California. And they looked at me like, yep, sure. Nice knowing you, get out of here. So yeah, that was, fake IDs were fun. All right, let's get back to the product here. When you're marketing this right now, and again, the answer might be everyone. Is it more towards people who might be Jai Alai fans, people who might just be coming to Florida, people who want to have a little action, with the betting markets? Or is this all happening kind of side by side in your mind?
We play at 3:00 in the afternoon on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because we want to be available when people have an urge to bet and there's not much else to wager on.
Is it televised anywhere or is it online? Can you watch it?
Yeah, we're on ESPN. All of our performances were on Fubo. We have a YouTube channel with, I think, about 140,000 subscribers at this point. So we've built a pretty strong social media community and a pretty good following on ESPN.
That's incredible. So the ESPN, is it ESPN 1, 2, 3, 12, 90?
We're on Plus.
Well, that's great, though, because one of the questions I was going to ask, and I kind of do know the answer, but, one of the challenges with niche sports, and we'll put you in the niche category for the moment, is the integrity, is the trust and everything. Having it televised by ESPN, I think that almost to me carries such a huge stamp of approval.
Well, we employ a company out of Las Vegas. They were initially called US Integrity, and now they're IC360. And their job is basically to watch every point of every match and guarantee that we have the required integrity. We knew that was very important because of the past history of the sport and some of the myths that were out there.
And not only that, but what's going on now, with NBA's not immune to this stuff. Major League Baseball not immune to this stuff.
Absolutely. I laugh because, we had to get approved state by state, and we were noticing that we had much stricter regulations to become a professional Jai Alai player than the NFL or the NBA. We don't allow felons in our league. Everyone is FBI background checked and drug tested routinely and things like that. So we were held to a very high standard, and we hold ourselves to a very high standard.
So what needs to get done in order to turn this from, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3 p.m., a couple 100,000 people to something that, I'm not going to say that's going to compete with the big three, but something that becomes something that oh, hey, we know about the average person, the average sports bettor?
So it's going to take a streaming deal with a major streamer. I mean, we've been hard at work on this. And, as I said, we were, I think, live and legal in 30 states and on these major platforms. But right now, if you're a niche sports league, and you're 100% correct, that's what we are, you need to get a streaming deal. So we need a Netflix, a Hulu, and Amazon, and Apple, and ESPN. One of the big, I think there's kind of like the big seven out there, to pick us up and want to show us on their streaming service live. Then you're pretty much home free, and you know that you're going to have a successful, financially viable league. But until you get to that point, it's a struggle.
Going back to like what I was saying in the beginning, which I was saying like as a half joke about a movie about the history of highlight, I think it would be the best thing that happens to you if you get some like major film that like talks about the past.
I mean, it's funny because there's been a lot of highlight adjacent. Mad Men, had a whole episode where highlight was very prevalent, and they called the Miami highlight the Yankee Stadium of highlight. And an episode of Dexter was filmed down here recently, and we just got contacted about a reboot of Miami Vice. So there's something romantic about highlight. Hemingway played highlight and Babe Ruth played highlight. There is something about it. It's sort of like the players are almost like bullfighters or something. It's romantic. It's a dangerous sport, but you're right. If that happened, boom, you're back in the mainstream.
I don't know if I'm in the minority on it. I don't know how many people are thinking of it like this, but for real, up until today, basically, when I heard the word highlight, I am picturing Miami Vice, Scarface. Like I'm picturing something a little dangerous, a lot of fun, pretty women, hanging around. Like there's something about it that really would lend itself to a movie. I wish I was a producer. I'd make it happen.
I would love someone to make that movie. A lot of our players are second and third generation players. So their fathers, their grandfathers, their uncles were highlight players back in the day when it was wine, women, and song. So, they've seen it or heard the stories, and all they want is to get back to those days.
Maybe that's what I'm looking for. There's something about highlight that to me, feels like high society adjacent, right? Where it's just something, it's something a little bit elevated.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have all this footage and pictures of, Sinatra at highlight and Jackie Gleason at highlight and Muhammad Ali at highlight, all in Miami. And that's what they would do on a Saturday night. And they would be, sitting at their private table and drinking champagne. And it had that reputation, and people used to dress up and go. Now that's not going to happen anymore because the world is very casual. But I think the mystique surrounding it is something that we hope we can bring back as well.
Well, yeah, and with the betting aligned with this is we need to get some young Hollywood, interested in this kind of stuff, and then we're cooking. I'm getting excited about highlight. It's bleeding through. I can't help it. Again, for the betting aspect of this here, what makes highlight and the way that you designed it now, more like tennis, a good betting sport? Is it kind of similar to betting tennis, or are there differences?
It's very similar to betting tennis. I mean, we like it because, for I guess more the old school crowd, someone like myself, I want to bet on a game or a match, whether it's a baseball game or a football game or a tennis match. So the singles and doubles matches, I can just bet, who's going to win. But you can bet on who's going to win each set, and you can bet on every point. So it has that ability for the person that wants this action, this constant action, to figure it out and bet points and bet sets and bet matches. And there's only 40 players in the league. So it doesn't take long, if you're willing to put in a little bit of time and energy, to really know the good players from the bad players and the strengths and the weaknesses, and get very good at betting on the sport.
Are you getting any pushback from, we'll call them purists?
Oh, absolutely. Especially in the beginning. I had to laugh because, I love the sport, but when we first started and, we play on a glass court. So one of our walls is even made out of glass, the back wall. No one had ever done that before. And the two serves and the different things we were doing. And people were like, you're ruining the sport of highlight. And I was like, there's not much left to ruin. I'm trying to save the sport of highlight. So slowly but surely, I think the purists have come around because we're the only professional highlight league in the United States. So it's either us or nothing. They have to kind of jump on the bandwagon if they want to see the sport saved. So purists are very, very slowly making their way back. But that's why we're not really trying to appeal to them. We want the younger sports bettor who wants a lot of action. Our matches, each one only lasts about 30 minutes. So over a 3-hour broadcast window, you'll see 6 matches, and you'll be able to make probably upwards of 60 or 70 bets. So there's a lot of bets you can make over a short period of time.
Where are the games played?
We play we call it Jam Arena, which is Highline Miami Arena. It's the old Miami Highline, and it's right near Miami International Airport.
Now, is the idea to like, if expansion, I'm sure you want to grow, do we stay in Florida or do we start like moving players around the country, or what's like the long term? Like if you wake up in 10 years, what's the beautiful version of this?
8 teams based and playing out of Miami, and an additional 8 teams based and playing out of Vegas, 2 conferences, and then our Super Bowl of highlight at the end of each season.
That does sound nice. So any movement towards that, or is it just planning?
We've grown the league from 4 teams to 6 teams. There's interest in adding more teams in Miami, and we've actually had conversations with a couple locations in Vegas. We got offered a location in Vegas, but it was off strip, and we feel like it's got to be on the strip. It's got to be where people are walking down the street and they can look through the glass windows and see highlight being played inside, and it'll lure the people in. You almost never find someone who comes to a match and doesn't find it fairly enthralling. So that's the great thing about it. You get them once, they're going to keep coming back and they want to keep betting on it.
Vegas is a no-brainer betting wise, but also again, it just Vegas and Miami, like they seem to be like, emotionally linked in my mind again. You know what I'm saying? It's like the same, we're there to party, we're there to have a good time, and highlight kind of fits all into that. Your background is rich, as you noted earlier. How much of this right now, what you're doing is like the sports entrepreneurship part of it versus, like just the day-to-day operations of running something like this?
Well, it's very much a passion project that I think has a payoff at the end of the day. I mean, it wasn't what I expected to be devoting so many days, weeks, and hours to, but everyone who's involved is getting very swept up with it. And it's been fun to create a league from scratch and, build a sport back up. So, it is a lot of fun. It is a lot of hard work. We think there's a payoff, a big payoff at the end of the day, but we're a business that's not making money right now. So every day or every time we have to basically say, hey, how much longer can we go at this? The good thing is that the league owns all the teams, and we have a lot of interest from people who want to become team owners. So that's been a lot of fun. And we've had some athletes, mostly Miami-based athletes, who are seasonal owners of the team. Udonis Haslam owns one of our teams, and Ray Lewis owns one of our teams. So we've got a little bit of cachet, and then Pitbull is an investor in the league. So we're building something we think is exciting and that, can bust right out of Miami and hopefully go to Vegas. And then the international markets are another big step for us.
Was there a moment in the last 4 years or so when you're like, you know what, this might actually fucking work?
There was. I mean, it really happened 2 years in, because in the beginning, as I said, our players were not very good and we couldn't get the best players in the world to come and play for us, even though we were offering good prize money. And then one of our players, an American kid who had been in the minor league system of the White Sox, we had a tournament here and it was open to all players from around the world. And he was not even one of our top 5 players. And he went all the way to the semifinals. And along the way, he beat some of the better players in the world who thought they were just going to mop the floor with our guys. And at that point, opinion shifted. And I was there that day. And that was the moment. Like, what the hell? We can do this. These guys are getting really good. And now we've got everybody's attention. Everyone wants to come and play highlight for us. So we're going to have the best players in the world, if that means anything. But we're going to have the fastest, most dangerous ball sport in the world. Let's go.
That's the moment that you thought it might work. Let's dial back a year or 2 or 3 before that. What was the moment when your brain said, you know what, I'm going to try this and try to make this work? Like that, there had to be obviously some deep thought concerning all this. I mean, it's one thing to try to help along a horse track or a dog track or whatever. It's a whole other thing to try to save an entire sport, start a company from scratch, get it listed, at all these betting sites, and change the way the game is played. There's a lot going on there. Some might call it batshit crazy.
Some have called it batshit crazy and told me that I was. So,
but when you were thinking about it, putting it together, what was the moment that got you like, you know what, screw it, I'm doing this?
The genesis was a challenge. It was actually even before we formed this league. I was running a casino in Dania Beach, which is adjacent to Fort Lauderdale, and it was a highlight. And we had just taken it over. And the first thing I had to do was negotiate with the highlight players a contract, and they were unionized by the United Auto Workers. How highlight players got with the UAW, I have no idea.
So now we can bring Jimmy Hoffa into this. This movie is outstanding.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So I'm sitting there with UAW reps and 2 highlight players, And they had all these demands. And I'm like, are you guys crazy? Like, you're demanding the sport is barely alive. And they're like, yeah, but you need us, because without us, you can't have those slot machines in the casino. And I said, I don't need you. I need a bunch of guys who can just play the sport of highlight. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And they said, you don't understand. Like, we grow up playing this sport in the Basque Country, like American kids grow up playing baseball or football, in the backyard. And I said, you're telling me that I couldn't find some athletes at a high school or a college or whatever it may be and teach them how to play highlight? And they were like, no, it takes 5 years to become even remotely proficient at this sport. And that was like the alarm bells that went off. And I, didn't say anything to them, but I said, well, we'll see about that. And that was the genesis of doing it ourselves at our facility and doing it with the University of Miami. And all we did was go get a bunch of former athletes who wanted to be professional athletes again and had that desire, an incredible work ethic that I think athletes have because they're used to being very structured. And these guys was like second chance they trained and they learned how to play and they rang the bell and they showed up. And so it was sort of like someone laid down the gauntlet and said, you can't do this. And I'm like, yes, we can.
What type of athlete have you found like is most successful at it?
Baseball players, the football players, want to make it into a contact sport. We have a high hurdler, he's good, because he can cover the court. We had a lacrosse player who the throwing motion was similar, but the baseball players, because of the hand-eye coordination, especially the infielders, they seem to pick it up really quickly.
It's fascinating. Give me the sales pitch. Modern sports fan, 1,000,001 things to watch, 1,000,001 things to bet on. Why should we care about what you're doing? Why should we care about highlight?
Well, I think you care about it for a couple reasons. Number one, because we're going to play when you don't have anything else to bet on, and you've got that hankering to bet. You want to place a bet. Number two, it's super dangerous and it's super fast, right? So, I remember as a kid watching auto racing only because I was waiting for the crashes. So I'm thinking a lot of people may be watching highlight, waiting for one of the guys to get, hit in the head or hit in the face or wherever with the ball, because it's pretty catastrophic when it happens. We get a lot of injuries. There's only been one death on a highlight court, and that was years and years ago, but there are a lot of concussions and there's a lot of ACLs and, labrum injuries and you name it. So I think people watch it because of the speed and the danger.
How fast are we talking here?
The ball goes upwards about 150 miles an hour. So, it's fast. And, you're a baseball player in the batter's box. You have a pretty good idea where the pitch is going to go. It's going to be inside or slightly outside the strike zone. But these balls are coming off walls, at all these different angles at 130, 140, 150 miles an hour, and you have very little reaction time. So, and you're wearing a ridiculous thing on your arm that's basically an oversized wicker basket that you have to catch the ball in.
And the ball, what's the closest comparison?
We compare it to a round hockey puck. It's as hard as a hockey puck, but it's round.
Oh my God. So here, things that I've learned also, things I won't be doing anytime soon. Playing highlight.
We have a special ball for beginners. It's what I use. It's basically a cricket training ball. It's a little bit harder than a tennis ball. I didn't even know they made them. But I got hit once with a highlight ball and I said, I'm not going to be, and I want to be able to go out on the court and catch and throw. But I said, not with that ball. I'll find something else. So we found this sort of heavy tennis ball, and that's what a lot of us use.
Is there room for highlight to, like, instead of going to play racquetball or squash or tennis, me and my buddies are going to play highlight? Or has that never been a thing?
It's never been a thing. There's an amateur facility in Miami. There's one in Tampa. There's one in Connecticut. I wish there were more. Our guys, one of our early marketing campaigns were, hey, all you need is a ball and a wall, which is true because you could go anywhere to a squash court or a racquetball court or anything, and could throw the highlight ball against the wall and catch it. But the court is so much bigger. That's sort of a phase two, is almost like an academy, highlight type academy, whether it starts in Miami, that mirrors what they have. They have them in Mexico and Spain and France.
Has there ever been, I know you had mentioned Ray Lewis earlier, but has there ever been any discussion, any talk about maybe getting an actual retired athlete from one of these sports?
We had a bunch of retired athletes come out earlier one Friday this year. A bunch of them have been before. They really like coming out. Livan Hernandez, who played for the Marlins and won the World Series, he comes out quite often. Glenn Rice played for the Heat. Of course, Ray comes out. Dante Culpepper, but Michael Vick came out and he went on the court afterwards and he was able to throw and catch pretty proficiently. He surprised all of us. So I have had a couple conversations with him. I'm pretty sure nothing's going to come of it, but I said, Michael, if you ever want to, re-immerse yourself in a sport, dog racing is probably not what he should do. Highlight makes the most sense. So we've thrown it out there to Michael Vick. I'm also thinking that, the possibility exists. Some of these baseball players that are, utility infielders or something that maybe get a cup of coffee in the major leagues or whatever, because you can earn a living playing highlight. I mean, you're not going to get rich right now. We hope someday you can, but you can earn a living if you're a good professional highlight player.
Yeah. Hard work, grit, and all that, counts for a lot. Are there any like happy accidents you're hoping for?
Accidents on the court? No. What we've toyed with is, and we're noodling with the ideas, I would love to throw up something like, I'll put my best two players out there and, any two athletes from any other sport, you can train for your 30 days or 60 days or 6 months. And then, come play our top two and you beat them and we'll pay you $1 million. That's something we're kind of thinking about doing, which I think would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like it shouldn't take that much to get this over the hump at some point in the, near term, right? Because it's fast, it's exciting, it has a history. Speaking of history, well, I do want to say, I've obviously been hyping the history here and like how great it is. Is there too much history maybe at times? Like, is it, how do you separate the nostalgia of the Muhammad Ali and the Frank Sinatra and bring it modern times? Because honestly, God, if I say Muhammad Ali and Frank Sinatra to my 17-year-old, I'm going to get a blank stare back.
That's where we're hoping that, a Ray Lewis or a Pitbull can really bridge that gap. And we're hoping that we get some new owners into the game, and perhaps there are major league owners in other sports, any of the major sports in the US, or a soccer team owner or something that'll really, help us up the cachet of the sport. Because again, we get people in there for the live and they love it and they're hooked, but we need to sort of, bridge that gap. You're right, from Sinatra and Muhammad Ali to today. But, Ray's been a great ambassador of the sport. And I think Pitbull will do a good job. And getting some more athletes, involved, I think would really make a difference.
Is it year round or is it seasonal? How are you operating right now?
We play 2 seasons. We play one season that is happening right now. It starts in February, and then our championship is May 8th. And then the guys basically take the summer off. And then we play a fall season that goes early September till first week of December.
Scott, this has been an awesome conversation. Fascinating stuff, man. I appreciate you stopping by. Good luck to you. Hopefully I am staying far away from any hockey puck balls. Those are things I don't want to ever like have flying at my face, but it sounds like an awesome thing. And I think this is very cool stuff that you're doing down there, Scott.
Well, we appreciate it and glad that you had me on, and hopefully we'll get you out to see it live one time here in Miami.
That'd be awesome, man. Thanks so much. All right, Scott, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.